Sheriff Mack, it's always a pleasure seeing you, sir. But before we get started, folks, we got to pay the bills around here. Obviously, Dear Mr. President.net, it's a free documentary. We're going to crush censorship. If you got any money to bet it on Mel Carmine. I'm the kind of horse that likes to show, okay? If you come down to Cape Canaveral, the body literally needs to be charged just like a car. When you go for 500 miles, you got to pull over the Tesla, you got to plug them in. The body is the same because we're electric. I can prove it, okay? If you go to the doctor and you need a pacemaker, guess what that pacemaker runs on? Electricity. But they won't tell you that, okay? So if you need to charge up your body, you come to Staying Alive in Cape Canaveral, 166 Center Street, Suite 200, okay? Also, if you want to buy a tremendous amount of XRP, nothing less than $10,000, and there's no maximum, I got brokerage firms all over the world, and I can have your XRP in your wallet within 5 to 7 business days, and it's done. Because I believe wholeheartedly, not financial advice, obviously, that XRP is going to end up being the final Bitcoin. So with that said, let's go ahead and play the trailer. This is the second trailer, which is absolutely awesome. You guys are going to love it. Here we go.
Dear Mr. President.
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 Dear Mr. President, when did freedom of speech become a crime? In the land of the free, voices are vanishing, opinions are policed, truth is under fire. They say it's about safety, I say it's about silence. Who's watching the watchmen? Who's filtering your feed? Who benefits from your silence? From the classroom to the newsroom, from Silicon Valley to Washington, D.C., who decides what you can say?
Censorship.
Censorship. Censorship.
The censorship. Censorship. It's a much bigger threat to democracy than anything that we've seen in this country in the last 4 years, in the last 40 years.
Our First Amendment is under assault, not just by big tech, but by government agencies. Voices are being silenced.
A world without censorship would mean we can freely expose the elections and, of course, child trafficking. I believe the American spirit would kick in if they had access to the real information.
We've had channels taken down from nearly every form of social media. We knew when you uttered the term fake news that you were up to something different. We're honored to contribute to this documentary on censorship.
I have only one thing to ask. I just only want to see some accountability from somebody. Just pull that pin and throw that grenade already, buddy. That's all every American wants to see, is just some accountability for the crimes against us all. Thank you, sir. And long live the Republic.
It's powerful, man. It is going to be absolutely powerful. You better fasten your seatbelts, activate all your airbags, because we're fixing to go for a damn ride, all right? Someone's going to win and someone's going to lose, and we're not losing. I'm going to tell you right now, we are not going to lose. America is guided by God. There's nobody more powerful than God. We got Sheriff Mack. It's always a pleasure seeing you, sir.
Richard Mack, a distinguished career in law enforcement and advocacy, former sheriff of Graham County, Arizona, devoted 20 years to law enforcement, serving in roles such as patrol officer, sergeant, detective, and school resource officer. Elected sheriff in 1988, Mack served 2 terms, graduating from the FBI Academy in 1991. His participation in the Academy indicates a period of professional collaboration with the FBI, as the program involves direct engagement with FBI instructors and resources. As Sheriff Mack made history by challenging federal overreach in Mack v. United States, a landmark 10th Amendment case decided by the Supreme Court. This victory preserved the independence of sheriffs and halted unconstitutional Brady Bill mandates. Safeguarding the Second Amendment. Mark's accolades include NHRA Law Officer of the Year, induction into the NHRA Hall of Fame, and the Gun Owners of America's Defender of the Second Amendment Award. He is also the founder of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, CSPOA, a grassroots organization committed to restoring individual liberties and fostering collaboration between citizens and law enforcement. An accomplished trainer and public speaker, Mack has conducted seminars nationwide and appeared on major news outlets like CNN, Fox, and ABC. Married for 49 years to his wife, Dawn, he is a proud father of 5 and grandfather to 15. Welcome, Sheriff Mack, to the Mel Carmine Show.
Now, from what I understand, if I'm not mistaken, you just celebrated like your 50th year, or right? That's amazing.
50.
Wow.
50. Yeah.
Congratulations on that, brother. Nobody lasts for 50 years these days. Are you kidding?
Well, it's actually 7%.
7%.
7% of all
I
marriages
bet you
make
I'm
it
in
to
that
50.
7%.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
let's talk
yeah,
about this big, beautiful bill that Donald Trump has put before us. I believe it's a bill to create massive wealth. I believe it's a bill to clean up the atmosphere. I believe it's a bill to shrink the government. I believe it's a bill to get rid of all the bad actors. I believe it's a bill to put America back on track. Where are you on that, sir?
I'm really a big fan of President Trump, and I'm a really big fan of most of this bill. But I'd really like to see cut back on spending. But be that as it may, I think this year we probably need the extra spending just so we can get enough resources to undo all the crimes and treason from the Biden administration. I will not support after this, I will not support next budget. I will not support any increased spending. In fact, to the contrary. So no more adding to the national debt, no more spending money we don't have. And I know that what he's doing is going to make us a lot of money as a country. But still, the taxpayers of this country, one, should not be paying a dime to Planned Parenthood or foreign aid. So we have got to rein in spending. And I still say this. We've got to defund Planned Parenthood. We've got to abolish the IRS, and we've got to abolish the Federal Reserve. President Trump is kind of acting like Powell it works for an independent country. He's supposed to be working for us. But what happened is the international bankers took over the Federal Reserve, and we've got to stop that. It is not a federal agency, although it started as one. No more. Get rid of them. We don't need them. And the United States Constitution in Article 1, Section 8 says that the United States Congress is to coin money and regulate the value thereof. Who regulates the power of the money in our country? The Federal Reserve does. And they have no authority doing that any more than the Boy Scouts has to be in charge of the Department of Interior. We must take care of our own. We must take care of our country. And the Federal Reserve is a very corrupt organization. We got to get rid of it. So we still have a lot to do, but President Trump, we're with you. And great job so far at the border and in creating peace throughout the world. Thank you, sir.
Is it possible? I want to play devil's advocate with you 1 minute, Sheriff, if I may. Is it possible that maybe he's going to run up the bill and then in the end, he's going to stick up the middle finger and saying, screw you, I'm not paying you. We're going to go into a debt jubilee. Is that possible? It's like if you know your American Express card is going to get forgiven and you still got, $20,000 worth of credit on there, you'd be almost stupid not to max it out.
Well, yeah. And you got a point there. I never really thought of that, but Trump is a shrewd businessman, and he knows how to do stuff like that. So far, I mean, people were screaming and crying about his tariffs. So far, the tariffs are paying off big time, and they haven't caused a bit of inflation. So I do know that I trust Trump, and he's smarter than I am. So maybe you got something there.
Yeah, gasoline has gone down dramatically, and we're just literally at the precipice. I think him and to some extent, some of the fight is very real with him and Elon Musk. To some extent, I think it's theatrics. we're in central casting. You ever hear Donald Trump say that about 88 times a week? Okay, central casting. So you're in a movie and you have to be able to dissect the movie and read the breadcrumbs and connect the dots. And you got to talk to smart people like yourself to sort of try and make sense of it all, you know. But you won a landmark Supreme Court case. You were the very first sheriff to ever sue the government, and you kicked their ass. Explain to the audience. I'm sure there's probably first-time listeners that probably don't know your story, which is an amazing story.
Yeah, the Brady Bill that was passed in 1993 and then signed into law in 1994 required the sheriffs to enforce it. Now, let me say that again. A federal statute, a federal, quote, law, was designed to have the sheriffs of the United States enforce it for the federal government for free without any negotiation. And they could just tell us what to do anytime they wanted and threaten to arrest us if we failed to comply. Now, Mel, I don't know if you know sheriffs in this country, but they don't like it when somebody from the federal government says, we're going to arrest you if you don't do what you're told, boy. And so not very many sheriffs said no, and only 7 sheriffs joined us in this lawsuit. But we represented a lot of sheriffs, and none of the sheriffs in Arizona liked it, but only one stood up and said, I'm going to stop it. Yours truly. It was me. And I was the only sheriff in the country for about 5 weeks. And then Sheriff Prince from Montana, he joined the case. And then 5 other sheriffs joined from across the country. And Sheriff Prince and I entered the Supreme Court representing the 7 of us. It was consolidated to be the Mack Prince case at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And we stood for 1 hour at the United States Supreme Court. Our attorneys argued the case. It was fantastic. It was an absolute miracle. And on June 27, 1997, the most powerful 10th Amendment federalism states' rights case was written by Justice Scalia and given to the world June 27, 1997. I highly recommend that everyone in this country get the book. This is a highlighted review of the case. I put this together after studying the case for days and days. And the most important parts are in this little booklet, and it's available on my website. Look, I'm going to get it to where you can see this and find it better. But right now it shows my hand on the website holding this little booklet. You can get 5 for $10. You can get 1 for like $2 or whatever it is. I can't remember, $3. We don't make any money off of this, okay? There's no markup in this.
Exactly.
Okay? And so by the time that we get them and paid for the shipping for all these books to get here, we don't make any money. I don't care. Look, I wrote some other books. I make some money off of the other books. They're $15. This is $3, okay? It's the most powerful book in the country. It's the most powerful decision and ruling from the Supreme Court on the 10th Amendment in the history of America. You want this book and you want to pass it to other public officials in your county. Give it to them and show them that the federal government is not our boss. And they literally say that on here. Let me quote that. Quoting from Justice Scalia. We have held, however, that state legislatures are not subject to federal direction. End quote. Folks, if we're not subject to federal direction, how could they be our boss and tell us what to do? Because they're not. That's why.
Exactly.
So go to cspoa.org, everybody. Order these, get them as much as you can, and let's make America great again.
Let's make it greater than ever before, my friend. So the case was basically protected by the Independence Office of the Sheriffs, right? And
Yes.
basically there's a lot of overreach, and so you were protected by a lot of these offices that were running sheriff's departments, what have you. I'm just curious because I'm sure that the same thing that's happening to Mel Carmine right now, where I'm being ghosted by a lot of the podcasters, but now that they saw the trailer and they see all these podcasters, they start to see the quality of what is about to hit Donald Trump's desk. I got people who are Pastor Steve Chocolate. He called me. He said, Mel, I'm coming in. I'm going to send you my 45-second piece. I want to talk to Donald Trump. I got Lara Logan called me yesterday. We're back and forth, and she's coming in. So all the big names all of a sudden are starting to emerge. But I'm sure that when you started your case, they all thought you were crazy, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so a lot of people, I got a lot of criticism. I got a lot of death threats. But my wife and I have hung in together for this. It's just been a miracle. And we've dedicated our lives to making sure that the sheriffs and police and the American people find out the truth about this case and know the truth that the federal government is not our boss. Who created the federal government? Let's see. The states did. We created the federal government, not the other way around. They are a creature of the states. And we assigned them a few things, very few, in the Constitution that they could do. We also made a list of things they could not do. And that's in the Bill of Rights. So I'm telling you, this is just the most important case that anybody could be familiar with. Read it, share it, and let's take back America one county at a time.
Absolutely. Now, I got to ask you the obvious question. You know, you and I both have a very a mutual friend. He's an acquaintance. I mean, we've talked to his personal assistants. We've had opportunities to get and do podcasts, but then they always get canceled. He was going to come to the Quantum Summit. He couldn't make it. He's a busy guy. I'm talking about Sheriff Ivey. Was he on board with you when you did this, or was he even a sheriff at the time?
He was not a sheriff at the time.
Interesting.
But yes, Wayne Ivey and I are very good friends. I'm not going to call him Wayne. Sheriff Wayne Ivey and I are very good friends. He's from Brevard County, Florida. That's where Cape Canaveral is located. Sheriff Ivey just released a press conference did a press release about if you want to come and protest in Brevard County, you're welcome. But if you commit any crimes and you attack any of our officers, we'll let your family know where they can pick up your remains.
I love it.
And this guy is tough as nails, but he also has compassion and kindness.
Yes.
And he knows when to use both.
Yeah.
So they had 600 people right after that show up for a protest. Guess how many people were arrested? 0. Guess how many crimes were committed? 0. Guess how much violence there was? 0.
Absolutely.
So you're welcome to protest.
Yeah.
You're not welcome to commit crimes or attack officers.
Yeah, I had the pleasure.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, I had the pleasure to meet him about 2 years ago when I moved here, back from Costa Rica, and he likes dogs. Him and I have one thing in common: we both like dogs, and he likes to put up dogs for adoption that have been abandoned, abused, etc. So he's got my 2 dogs are both adopted from the streets of Costa Rica. So him and I are on the same page as far as that's concerned. What a great guy. I just met him for maybe 20 minutes and we just immediately hit it off. You know what I mean? And look, if you come to Brevard County, you're going to get hurt. You know, there's a few guys out here that are not afraid to rough you up a little bit.
And just to make sure you know that, yes, he supports our case. He really likes the case. He's been to some of our conferences. And I endorsed him when he first ran for sheriff in 2012.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Well, he's good friends with a good friend of mine who owns Space Coast Daily, Tom Palermo. He's the CEO and founder of that publication. As a matter of fact, Ivey gives him a lot of business. And, you know, Ivey's a ham. He's got his own podcast. He's got the spin the wheel of fortune where if it lands on you, they looking for people to arrest. I forget what it's called, the show. It's really nifty. He's got the show on, I think, live once a week on Facebook. Really, really cool guy. But anyway, so tell us where Donald Trump, I mean, look, you and I are not going to worship anybody but God. Okay. Donald Trump
Right.
seems to come in, wants to do the right stuff. But the reality is, if he makes a mistake, you and I are the kind of guys that are going to call him out on it.
Of course.
Right. Do you see,
Yeah, of course.
I mean, there's some things that he's done, obviously, that you may not agree with, and maybe you might want to bring some of those things up. But there's always, for some crazy reason, and you either can agree or disagree with me, for some crazy reason, he makes a move that looks so wrong, but then 3 weeks later, you say, oh, genius.
Yeah.
Right?
No question. Absolutely no question. For instance, he knew exactly what he was doing when he bombed Iran.
Right.
And he was very strategic about it, and he was very cunning. He says, I'll decide in 2 weeks. So what did he do? He hit him in 3 days.
Right.
And they were not ready for him. And it was a brilliant military move. And I'm telling you, it has ended peacefully at this point. I'm still very concerned about the sleeper cells that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris allowed to come into America. But I believe that they're on top of that. And I believe that there's plenty of sheriffs trying to locate the cartels and the international terrorists that have infiltrated America. And that's where we really need to be watching. And the eyes and ears of every sheriff's office are out there looking, and they need to be ready. For the Democrat sheriffs who are not helping with that, shame on you. Because what is your job? It's to make your community a safe place to live.
Absolutely.
If you're not helping with deportation, and you're not helping locate the thousands and thousands and thousands of cartels and human traffickers and terrorists that have infiltrated America, why would you not? Because your city council supports the Democrat Party and they told you not to?
Exactly.
You don't take orders from them. You work for the people. Let's get out there and get busy and make us a safe place to live.
Absolutely. Well, your case, getting back to your case, the ruling basically shut down the Series 5 of the Bradley bill, right? And it had a lot to do with saving the Second Amendment. I mean, if it wasn't for what you did today, we might not have a Second Amendment.
That's absolutely true. And like I said, I was by myself for the first 5 weeks, and I thought, man, they're gonna get rid of me. They're gonna squash me like a pumpkin seed. And then when Prince joined, I was elated. And then when Sheriff Coog in Texas joined right after that, and then Sheriff Romero from Louisiana, and Sheriff McGee from Mississippi, Sheriff Frank from Vermont, and Sheriff Anders from Wyoming. And there was only 7 of us, so 7 sheriffs out of 3,100. That's like 0.002%. But they made it to where they couldn't go after just the one guy. And so it turns out that we found out 2 weeks after I filed that there were more Brady bills coming.
Wow.
And the first one was rather innocuous and was kind of a simple thing. The sheriffs just have to do what they're told, and we're all going to be fine, and we're all going to be safer. Well, that was Bill Clinton talking, and we know every time he opens his mouth, he's lying, or he's making excuses to Hillary, one and the same. And so Howard Metzenbaum introduced Brady Bill 2 just 2 weeks after I filed on number 1. So I filed on February 28, 1994. He introduced Brady Bill 2 March 14th in a Senate committee. Well, it never made it out of committee, so it never went to the floor. And after we won, Brady Bills 2, 3, 4, and 5 never saw the light of day. And so if those 5 had passed, the Second Amendment would have been completely gutted and destroyed. And it would have, as you know, after you lose a right, it's very difficult to get it back.
Yeah.
And so 7 sheriffs in this country deserve a lot of credit for doing more to save the Second Amendment than all the legislatures and all the activist groups, NRA, GOA, SAF, all of them put together have not done more for the Second Amendment than these 7 sheriffs. Now, do I like all those other groups? Of course I do. And they all gave me awards. But when it really came down to boots on the ground, the 7 sheriffs of this country saved the Second Amendment.
Well, you know, look, you and I think in many respects are cut from the same cloth because we're fearless. You know what I mean? And you have to be fearless. The train has gone so off the rails. We've been distracted with all the, you know, reality TV shows and the game shows and all the bullshit, right? That now the car has fallen off the cliff and we have to deploy the parachutes so that we can soften the landing a little bit. But Trump has got his hands full. People don't realize that they need to get their hands dirty. This requires all hands on deck. This is not a job that Sheriff Mack could do. He fits one piece of the puzzle. I'm going after the censorship. I'm going to go after these tech giants. You know why? Because this is America. Everybody wants to come to America. Whether you're an individual, whether you're a family, whether you're a corporation, every corporation in the world would love to come and make money in America. You know why? Because if you break the Da Vinci Code, you can make a ton of money here. Still today. Yes. Very true. Okay? And it doesn't matter whether you're black, white, yellow, blue, fat, tall, skinny, ugly, good-looking, semi-good-looking. It don't matter. It don't matter. And everybody dies. And people walk through mountains for days, overnights, through cold, through all kinds of weather to get to America. There's got to be something that's special about this country, and there is. And we're going to close that border. We're going to send everybody back home. If you want to come back, you got to come through the right door. And I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to fix the censorship. You know why? All these tech giants that say, oh, we're a private company. We could do whatever we want. Bullshit. The only thing Donald Trump has to do is wear his commander-in-chief hat, get rid of the SES, who's in the basement, which is a small part of our military-industrial complex, pulling the lever on free speech. Okay? Zuckerberg is a mannequin in the window at Macy's. The guy that runs Google, same shit. The guy that runs Instagram, same shit. You understand? These people are not that powerful. The only thing he has to do is sign an executive order as the commander-in-chief says, you want to do business in America, you abide by the First Amendment. And if you don't do that, you get such heavy fines, strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, you're out. And I'm sure the Trumps know a few programmers. What do you think, Sheriff? That we could put a few programmers to run YouTube and run Instagram and run Rumble and run all these platforms? I think they've proven that because they're into the crypto game. You don't get into the crypto game without knowing a few programmers. These guys got their finger on the pulse. So if you want to abide by the America, you want to make the almighty dollar, and you want to continue to making your billions and trillions, level the playing field and allow Richard Mack's message to thrive. Because if Mel Carmine's show, for example, has 1 million followers right now, we would be able to get to a lot more people than just a few. And that's what we got to do. This is the most important thing we need to unclog is the microphones. And we're going to speak free, just like what he did for the Second Amendment and what he did in the Sheriff's Department, challenging the American government. I'm challenging big tech. And we're going to get this thing straightened out once and for all. I'm telling you, we're not letting up. Now, I'm a little bit encouraged because like you had nobody in the beginning. You were by yourself. But then all of a sudden you had 6 more sheriffs saying, you know what? I'm going to join this guy. This guy's got big cojones. I want to be part. If you're going to listen, hey, if you're a man, you're either going to live or you're going to die. If you're going to die, I'd rather die standing on my feet fighting than to be on my knees like a little bitch. Does that make sense?
If I'm going down, I'm going down with my boots on and my gun strapped, So, yeah. But, and of course, we both mean that philosophically,
yes.
Metaphorically. Because, folks, this is a fight. But right now, the CSPOA is pursuing every peaceful and effective means within our reach. And we're one of the only very few organizations left in America that is very effective in what we're doing, because the sheriffs are the solution. The sheriffs are the ultimate authority. And so, of course, they can stand for freedom, and they can do this with the people. We, the people, with our sheriffs, is the most effective solution, and it's peaceful. So we need to join this and be a part of this while we can still keep it peaceful.
Absolutely. Well said. And you know, I'm going to hold his feet to the fire, because we've been talking about. I know that Ted Nugent would love to be part of this documentary. It's well put together on a 5-star level. It's not going to embarrass anybody. Yeah. And let me tell you something. Ted Nugent, I've seen him in concert 3 times. I saw him when he was a 25-year-old dude with long hair down to his butt. Okay, playing some freaking wild guitar. 1979 on stage. Giant Stadium. It was Mahogany Rush, the Little River Band, Ted Nugent, Aerosmith, Heart, and the Eagles. Okay, that was the very first time I saw Ted Nugent in concert. And this guy filled up stadiums, 50,000, 60,000 people stadiums. And now he gets on YouTube and can't get 5,000 people to watch his videos. What's wrong with that picture besides everything, Sheriff?
Yeah, everything.
Probably the
Ted
guy
has been very vocal about it.
Probably a guy that's got one of the most original, incredibly high Q vocabularies of our time, right? Nobody speaks like Uncle Ted. Nobody.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, he's really intelligent, and he's very articulate. You are correct.
Yeah. Amazing. I mean, and I want to meet him. Would love to meet him face to face one day. I know he's up there in Michigan. He's got a big old, big piece of land, and he goes hunting and all of that. I've never done hunting, but I maybe want to get into some hunting with Ted Nugent. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, he actually lives in Texas now.
Okay.
He still does a lot of work in Michigan and Detroit area. But he has a hunting ranch, and you're able to actually go to his ranch and pay for a hunting excursion, kind of like a safari.
Right.
And there's lots of different animals there. And I've seen him do it. He's pretty amazing, and he has an amazing ranch and owns quite a bit of land there, near Waco, I believe, if I remember right. So,
okay.
Yeah, Ted's a great activist. He's a great musician, and growing up, I never really cared for his music, and I had to try to keep it away from my kids. Now I'm so ashamed to admit that, because the music was fine. He was never vulgar,
right?
And I love his heavy metal rendition of the national anthem. Okay. I just absolutely love it.
Absolutely,
and he's great, and we're great
like
friends.
Wango Tango or Cat Scratch Fever, man.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, so tell the people how they find you. CSPOA.org, right? That's where they could get the pocket constitution and all of that stuff.
Get make a donation. Anybody makes a donation of $700, you get a CSPOA posse badge. This is absolutely authentic. You get the wallet, credit card holder, and everything in this beautiful leather wallet. And again, anybody donate $700 at CSPOA.org. We'll send you this free, the book's free, and your membership to the CSPOA. Otherwise, membership is $99 for 1 year. Look, folks, divide 12 into 99. It's not even $9 a month. Or if you want to pay by month, you can do $11 a month. Why do we do this? Because every organization needs funding, and everybody needs us, because we hand you participation in a solution-oriented organization that focuses on peaceful and effective, peaceful solutions, folks. If you're not a part of it, it's not going to work. Let me say that again. If you're not a part of it, if we the people are not a part of it, it's not going to work. CSPOA.org. CSPOA.org. Become a member, make a donation, get your beautiful CSPOA wallet today.
Yeah. Thank you, Sheriff, for coming. Again, CSPOA.org. If you come down to Cape Canaveral, the body literally needs to be charged just like a car. When you go for 500 miles, you got to pull over the Tesla, you got to plug them in. The body is the same because we're electric. I can prove it. Okay. If you go to the doctor and you need a pacemaker, guess what that pacemaker runs on? Electricity. But they won't tell you that. Okay. So if you need to charge up your body, you come to Staying Alive in Cape Canaveral, 166 Center Street, Suite 200. And sometimes I sleep there at night too. So you'll have bragging rights. You can say I slept with Mel Carmine. You know what I mean? Well, guys, we'll catch you on the next one. Sheriff, always a pleasure. I'm going to hold you back for a couple of seconds. Thank you, guys.